Hey, we're live. I'm Brent Leary.
Yay. I'm Paul Greenberg on slower time.
Wow, that was really slow.
Yeah, meant to be.
I'm going to speed it up just a bit and say we are the CRM Players. This show number 2 for 2023?
If we've already know, we're in trouble with our memories. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's always the case. Every year it seems to get a
I
little
mean,
worse. Anyway, we're good. We're good. But you know what? Can we officially start a show without? I'm stretching it out now because usually
yeah. Oh, okay. Oh my
he's a
God.
little. He was starting to get me a little worried, but now our moment of spin, and I don't know
Okay.
what the hell to say to that.
Going on me vriend. Come on, where we
2023. That's all I got.
I'm going some derivative of Dutch.
All right. Well, Sven, he's going Dutch.
Derivative of Dutch, if
I'm
not
just
Dutch.
going with 2023 because that's the only
It
thing.
could be Curacao for all I know, but some former Dutch colony
Here
or
it's a nice
Suriname,
place. All
right? But
All
that's
right. Well,
what
Sven, let us know what.
okay. Rebecca says Afrikaans.
Oh, so we got
Maybe
a
so.
player in
I don't.
residence.
You know what? That's a derivative of Dutch. So
Okay.
let's see.
I love when
Hi,
people who are
Larry.
on the show are like doing comments. It's
It's
always Ginger too. Yeah,
Ginger and Rebecca.
She's good for that. John, is it Healed? How do you pronounce his last name?
Healed.
All right.
Afrikaans, it is.
Larry, happy
Hey, man.
2023, Larry.
Woohoo.
By the way, do we still need to get him on the show? Did we have him on?
Yeah. Well, he's been
remember.
on, but we get him on again. We just need him for 2023. Yes, we absolutely do. Okay, Afrikaans it is. Way to go, Rebecca. Woo, woo,
I think
woo.
she got the answer from Patrick, actually. We'll see if she gives him any credit for that.
Well, Patrick is multilingual. He speaks 20 dialects of dog and 50 dialects of human.
Well, he's got me beat. Anyway, Sahil, hello. It was Patrick. All right, at least she fessed up. Man, that's pretty cool. Look at Sven with the all caps with the Rebecca in all caps.
Oh, wow. Look at that. He knows, Patrick knows not only that dog, and he knows some cat.
Yeah, that's I know a little cat. Name, Benny the cat. Little cat.
Oh, I thought you were going to do something like scat.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not scatting.
Okay, now I'm not sure which LinkedIn user this is.
Somebody with their security settings at a certain level, but we'll take the high anyway. All right.
Say who you are, though.
Yeah, say who you are. Let us know. We'll do a shout out. Man, this is going to be a fun show. It's what do we call it? It's a homecoming.
Yeah, we have invited homecoming and reunion.
Yeah, we've invited Playaz-in-Residence, past and present, to join us. How many have we had total?
We've had a total of 8.
Look what LinkedIn user was, by the way.
Bob. Another one of them. Yeah. Another one of the PIRs.
Welcome back in Bavaria. Wow, Sven is like in a good mood today, isn't he?
He's doing great. It's exciting.
That's really cool.
He makes the show exciting when he does that.
So we got 8. We've had 8.
We've had 8. Yes.
Total. And we have 7 out of 8. That's not bad at all. I mean, that's
only one couldn't make it due to customer meetings.
And we should speak to them about their customers should have really understood that they can push things back and let him.
Well, priorities do matter. I mean, we've had people on the happy hour say they can't do it because of their job. So I emailed them and said, look, quit your job.
Okay. All right. So before we bring these folks on, I want to do a couple of quick things. One thing. Got to do a birthday shout out, right?
Yes, we do. Happy birthday.
Wait a minute. How did that a few good minutes get up
there? You just took the script. Oh, you didn't change it. I see. Notice
I put him on. No, I put it up there because first of all, it's Thomas Weaver Knight's birthday. So
happy birthday, my friend. You are what? He's probably what, 28?
21?
29? 29? I thought he was like late 20s.
Could be. Yeah. But anyway, no, the reason why, he's one of the thought leaders in the industry and does a great video show podcast with Ralph. What's Ralph's last name again? Korb, and our buddy Marshall Lager, called CRM Convos. So, and so he's a thought leader. He's a co-host, show host for that, but he's also one of the round robin co-hosts for In the Hot Seat on the PPN, right?
Yeah, I mean, and show's doing very well. They're a hell of a lot better organized than we are.
Well, you can say that, but that really doesn't take much. Just to be
that's
honest
right. Basically, all that means is they can put a 1 and a 2 together in the same thing, right? Then it works. That's more organized than us.
Yeah, absolutely. But shout out to Thomas. Hope he has a great day. A couple more quick things. This is going to be cool. A few good minutes next week with my buddy and yours, and of course, he's a fellow Yankees fan.
Oh, is he ever, man? He wears more gear than I do.
Yeah, that's saying something too. But my buddy Jeff Brathwaite, he is a real bona fide expert in utilizing YouTube Shorts videos to build a community. He's going to talk about that because I think literally just yesterday, officially announced their new YouTube Shorts program. But before they announced it officially, Jeff took a community that was like a YouTube channel that his sister had, because she is an actress and a producer, and like a decade ago, her and a group of her friends started this YouTube channel. They called it the Comedy Divas, and they were doing like fully blown production skits that was way ahead of their time. And like their first video got like 100,000 views, and they did a couple of more, but they got pulled into other projects. The channel went dormant for like a decade. Jeff said, there's some opportunity to do some experimentation with YouTube Shorts in these channels. So what he did was he didn't take their content. Their content was like a decade old. He kind of looked at what was going on with YouTube Shorts, all the rules and regulations for how you can use content, and he took their dormant channel, which I think had about 5,000 subscribers, without any new content from the Comedy Divas, just sourcing it from YouTube. He built it up to, I believe it's approaching 90,000 subscribers in like less than a year.
Yeah.
So he is going to talk about why that's important, why that may be an avenue for people that are trying to build communities around their products or services, or they're just around them. How you can leverage this, and if it's a real competitor, if it's a real threat to TikTok. I kind of think it is, but we're going to be talking about that next Tuesday. So if you're interested in stuff like that, check it out. I want to do a plug for your show.
Coming
tell
up.
us a little bit. Yep. Tell us about it.
So at the end of this month, Engage with Paul and Kenny, we'll have 2 guests. One, Bill Klein, who actually runs AI for Disney Imagineering. And we'll also have Sarah McDonald, who is actually the spouse of Jeff McDonald, runs AR for ServiceNow. And she is also a survivor of 2 forms of cancer that hit her within months apart. And she wrote a book about it, which is extraordinarily moving and incredibly well written too, by the way. So we're going to have her on to talk about the book. We have Bill Klein on to talk about not just Chat GPT, but AI in general, how it works, what it is, and what he's doing over at Disney, and what he's done historically, which is actually even more impressive than what he's doing at Disney. It's going to be a great show. And Kenny and I, of course, will talk about what we're drinking, because that's pretty much what we do. Right. So.
And of course, one of the things that you guys touched on, because I did a little sneak peek, was getting you had a really fun interaction with Bill around ChatGPT. He tends to be a little bit more positive about it than you are, but I'm just saying that's something you might want to check out. And I mean, ChatGPT is, you can't escape it. I didn't try to. Earlier this week, we had it. I'm calling him the bot father, because I think it's true. I think he deserves the title. He's been around talking about speech tech and conversational AI for like decades at this point. Dan Miller. So we did a show. You can check that show out. We did a little piece of that, took it out, but there's a lot of interest in this. So much so that before we bring our guests on, and I'm springing this on the venerable Paul Greenberg, but he kind of knows.
Of course you are.
Here is something that we are really excited about starting. Dropping the bro hammer. Everybody, this is going to be fun. Our buddy John Reed, I called him the bad boy of ERP, but apparently he liked the bro hammer thing more. And
yeah.
Did you come up with that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I called him bro hammer one day, and he just took to it.
He really took to it. So we have invited the bro hammer to every now and again. Maybe hopefully it'll be a little bit more now than again, but we'll figure it all out. To invite him to give his unique perspective on different things that are going on in the industry. And so with all the chat GPT talk, we thought it would be interesting to get his. Wow, how did that happen?
You just chat GPT moved it forward.
That's what it was. So we thought we'd have him give us his thoughts on what's going on with chat GPT. And here it is.
To argue that the hype around a dumb chatbot is stopping us from talking about the real issues with AI. Count me amongst those. That's right. I said it. We're still freaking out over dumb chatbots. Look, I wrote this week that I think ChatGPT and itself will have a profound cultural effect in a way that the metaverse, blockchain, and Web3 evangelists can only fantasize about in PowerPoint. But, and here's the kicker, a profound cultural effect is very different than a viable enterprise business model. Not many realize, but OpenAI is a for-profit business. Some of these bots people are fanning the hype flame with will eventually be reserved for paying customers only. And then we'll have the problem of determining how much business impact are these tools actually going to have. And the answer is only as far as companies are willing to go. I've got news for you. Companies like their bots dumb. Just check out software vendor homepages where the bot gets in your face to put you in a lead gen bucket and then it ignores you for the rest of the time. Or until your session expires, then it wants to know if you're a prospect all over again. Is there an opportunity for a chat GPT type bot to better qualify a web visitor? Sure. I see value in bots for configuring user preferences, serving up useful info, escalating to humans. But do companies have the imagination to use these bots well? I would say companies that get that automation talent balance right are going to have an edge over those that are looking to push automation and bots further than they can currently go without alienating customers. In theory, I'm right in ChatGPT's crosshairs, so why aren't I afraid? I'm not quaking right now because at the moment, machines are good at different things than I am, and that includes ChatGPT. I'm in the business of trying to be a great writer, falling short, and trying again. ChatGPT's challenge is to spew out as much subpar, jargon-heavy prose as it possibly can without making its usual egregious factual errors. Any moments of chatbot insider comedy, that's pretty much accidental. If I can't do better than that, I probably deserve my exile. But on the other hand, don't even pretend that ChatGPT can analyze enterprise news and pull out what matters. And if ChatGPT can write your marketing copy, I've got bad news for you. Your marketing copy probably sucks. ChatGPT did accomplish one thing I haven't, however, getting kicked out of Stack Overflow for spreading misinformation and bad code. If I get replaced by one of these bots, you guys would be the first to know. Thanks.
Wow,
Dropping it.
On him, then he dropped the bro hammer, man.
That's what the bro hammer is supposed to do.
That's right. He dropped the bro hammer.
Bringing it only to you exclusively on PPN. How do you like that? We got some exclusive content now. Feel pretty good.
Wow, and we got a crew chomping at the bit to talk here.
Yeah, well, now that we set the stage, is there any like homecoming music we're supposed to be playing or something?
I don't know. We probably should have found something. But it would have been like 1950s. I don't even know what. Like, prom music. So what I was thinking we could do because. Trying to like go through introductions for all 7 would be a bit much here. So why don't we do this? We'll do an introduction again. You'll do I'm Brent Leary. I'll do Paul Greenberg, and then they'll do their follow-ups, and then we'll close the same way. That way the names will be just say their names again. That's all. Just run it like that. It'll take 30 seconds.
So you want me to bring them on one at a time?
Yeah, no, bring them all on, man.
No, because then there'll be collisions. I'll just bring one
All right,
on,
one at a time.
and then
Okay.
whenever they come on, they have
All
to
right.
be ready to
That
say
works.
who they are.
By the way, we're
All
doing
right.
this on the fly,
All right,
folks.
now that's
so-
fun. I can
All
get
right.
with that. All right, so it's let's see, who shall I pick first?
Ooh.
I'm going to go with
Okay, and say it.
Well, I thought you guys were supposed to
Okay,
start,
we'll
and then I
start
was
you
supposed
up.
to
All
jump
right.
in.
Take it
I'm
away,
Brent
Brent.
Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm Ginger Conlon.
And I'm Rebecca Whitman. And I'm Patrick.
That was cool.
Wow, you did pretty good. That was pretty good.
And I'm Elle Nicole France.
It's like a 60 Minutes thing going on here.
Yeah.
On and talker.
And I'm Jamie Anderson.
I guess that's all that we need to know. That's Bob. And last but certainly least,
And I'm Alan Bergson.
Holy
Where
crap!
are you, Alan? I can't. There's so many. Oh, there he is. There's like so many people on this screen. Like
This is
trying to
literally
find
the
him.
largest accumulation of people I've ever seen on this screen.
This is so cool to see. Wait a minute. I got to take the CRM Players logo because I can't see Ginger at all.
Yeah,
Like,
take it down.
there
we go.
There you go.
So hi,
I think
everyone.
we have like actual Brady Bunch going on here.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, you're
Or how-
you're center square, Nicole. You're
Center
center
square.
square.
Well, first, that was really cool. First of all, thanks for doing this. It was very short notice, but
Yeah, one day.
we couldn't be happy to have you all here. And you know, we're gonna have to talk to whoever Brian's client is because they could have been a little bit more understanding. Yeah,
Or
I
what does
know.
that say about us?
we don't want to get into that, Anand. By the way,
Maybe
Anand,
Then
Anand-
we'll have a 40-minute discussion on the imposter syndrome.
yeah, Anand, you and I are keeping an eye on the weather because you know there's some severe weather rolling through this area.
yeah,
so
yeah.
if
No,
you
I'm
see-
fully. I've got the static ready to go, so it'll look like one of those
Yeah.
disaster movies where we're on this
Oh, you'll-
conference call and we're trying to save the world, and then all of a sudden I
You'll just
disappear or you
see-
disappear.
you'll just see a room that's empty because Brent won't be in it. That's what's
Right,
going
or
to
else, and
going on.
Anand's constellation array in the back will start flashing red.
That's right.
Right? Let us
All right.
know.
So I don't know how we're going to do this because there's so many voices that need to be heard in so little time. But why don't we just do a call and response? Just tell us what's going on in your world. What are you
Yeah.
excited about in 2023? Something like that.
Well,
Like,
and a lot of you have, gone on to, given that we, of course, got you your opportunity as Playaz-in-Residence, because that's how most people get jobs nowadays, right? So you've gone on to some great stuff and are doing great things. So Ginger, why don't you start? Just let people know what you're up to, and then we'll get into the industry and all that stuff. But everyone, just let people know what you're up to and kind of leave. You guys are sane people, so just kind of follow in order.
Really?
Yeah.
sure about that?
Yeah, pretty good. There you go.
What am I up
what are you
to?
up to?
I am super excited about all of the copy that I am writing about all of the trends and strategies happening out there in customer experience. So instead of doing it for a magazine, and now I'm doing it for Genesis, but we've got some great research coming out, state of customer experience, already some really cool findings. emceeing our G Summit, 4 different cities,
Ooh,
blogs, et cetera, et
Nice.
cetera. Just loving it.
busy, very busy. I have a candidate for you, by the way. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's go over to Anand and work across. Anand, you take it on.
Yeah, I Happy New Year, everybody. I'm actually waiting until first quarter to decide all the predictions and stuff because you really do need like the first of the year to really truly get a sense of what's going on. But yeah, no, like Ginger, I'm enjoying actually spending a lot of time kind of re-immersing myself into a lot of what's going on for CX, CRM. Of course, I've been coming at it lately, especially from sitting with lots of executives on navigating some of the choppy waters and then melding it with potentially the great opportunities that are ahead of us, and as well as speaking to a lot of where CX can gain inspirations from other things. That's a little bit of a surprise. I think Brent and Paul know about it, but there'll be something big coming out later in the year that will speak to that. It's a kind of a melding of two different worlds, but in the meantime, just enjoying, little side projects here and there. I actually have built my first Chrome extensions. I know it's kind of weird, but it's something that's been on my plate, and there's no better way of actually exploring than doing, and that was something that's been on my mind. But thanks for bringing back,
Nicole.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pick up on both Ginger and Anand's comments here. So, kicking off some really big research this year that I'm super excited about. More to come on that, but I don't want to give too much away just yet. And as you were saying, Anna, nothing quite like doing. So I get to do this content thing for real, folks. Like, that's my new gig. So still at Contentful, but I'm not just marketing this stuff. I'm now actually doing it for us. So having a lot of fun, getting stuck in. Got a few little irons in the fire that a few of you know about. There may be some of the faces that we all know and love that crop up in some of the work that I'll be doing shortly too. But busy. Lots of words, lots of research, lots of thinking, lots of trying to show and sort of be the example. So, not to set the ambition too high, but that's really what's on the docket for this year.
Okay. Rebecca?
Hey, everybody.
Oops.
Still here, excited to be continuing another year with some names that you recognize and working with some young and interesting companies doing interesting things. I have not built any Google Chrome extensions, but who knows what the next couple of months will hold.
Right. You're going to be Firefox. Alan?
Well, for 2023, I'm in the unique position for me of being unemployed, or maybe free to do what I'd like to do. One of the things that I've gone back to, and you guys are going to laugh at me, is actually storytelling and corporate narrative. I'm working on a new model for how to tell stories. We've talked about hero's journey for many years, many decades. Joseph Campbell. There's a emerging model called collective journey, working on editing a book and then incorporating it into how businesses can tell better stories that are not about good guys and bad guys, but about how people work together collectively to solve systemic issues. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm also seeing if I could be a music producer, a theater producer, a web designer, and probably a car service for young artists.
That's pretty good. We'll see, I assume your music producer role is with your daughters by some odd
Absolutely.
chance? Yeah,
Absolutely.
two incredibly talented people.
The same with the car service, Paul.
Same with the car service, yes.
That just means you're chauffeuring them around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Bob.
So, as you all know, I'm still retired. Not interested in working. I have been doing a lot of research. I've also been talking to a lot of former customers and talking to a lot of people in the industry, looking at new products. And in my spare time, I've actually been designing the next generation CRM system. On top of that, I've been learning this whole world of freaking video and recordings and, trying to understand this whole world, which is crazy different from building software. But I think I've mastered the Rodecaster Pro 2 now.
Wow. Good work.
Now I'm working on, next is the video to come.
Okay, there. That's, by the way, semi-inside joke. All right, Jamie. You moved recently, Jamie, so when you fill people in on some of the details on that too.
I did. Well, so I am now the Chief Revenue Officer at Emburse. So based on what everyone else is doing, Ginger, Nicole, Bob, I think I am underachieving. So that's what I'm doing right now, and it's great. I'm helping organizations, with spend management, which is a huge topic given the market that we're in right now. But listen, it's great to be back and be online in deepest, darkest Scotland with you guys. And now I'm in the presence of media moguls, Paul and Brent. What is going on? What's going on with that?
Oh, we could bore you all day with that one, but we won't. Oh, so Brent's hiding.
What happened to Brent?
See, he's hiding in the dark. Right.
He's on the witness protection program. That's what's going on.
There
I'm giving you guys a look
hint
at
of a
behind the
future.
scenes. Let me see if I can do this. All right, yeah. So look, how many screens do you guys see?
Four.
Out of hand here, but-
Well, let's see. 1, 2. I see 3 versions.
Do we count the screens that we see in the screens of the screens? 'Cause
Yeah.
that could be a big number.
Infinity.
count whatever you want.
I
1,
have a
2,
formula for
3,
that.
4, 5, 6.
All
That's what your Chrome
So
extension
this
is.
is what's going on behind the scenes. All right, let me.
And that
let
big
me-
light up there is
Well-
the Novus P300C.
And now I
Great
got to
light.
turn my light back on so you can see.
Yeah,
Anyway, who's up next?
that's it.
That was it.
We've been through everybody, man.
Oh wow.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so
That has to be some kind
mean,
of
I-
record. I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah, that was actually 30 seconds, or that was actually what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. Pretty well done, everybody.
we know. I mean, it was amazing, really. So it was like everybody was. Well, forget it. Then I'll end up speaking for 20 minutes about how everybody was good and focused, right? So, okay, so there's a question. And by the way, regardless of what Bob's actually building, you guys might have some thinking on next gen CRM too. Answer. What do you guys think of what Sven just asked? Is it Web3 driven? Is it not? Does it matter? What is it in the eyes of other people here? Bob, since you built it, why don't you start? But then everyone else just jump on in.
Look, I think Web3 is immaterial at the end of the day. Here we go, overhyped. Another thing that is overhyped and will never be delivered on at the end of the day. And enterprises will have a hard time even being able to take advantage of it. To be perfectly honest, when you talk about business applications, yes, you want to try to incorporate some of the cool things in Web3, but I don't think there's a whole lot that you can actually do at the end of the day. Enterprises aren't ready for it. Look, they still are struggling with using AI and machine learning. They're struggling with using voice. There's a long way to go before I think companies really adopt, Web3, if it's ever adopted.
From that standpoint, to be honest, I mean, companies from recent conversations I've been having are struggling with just figuring out how to use CRM as we know it. Right. So
Yeah, that
I mean, they
hasn't
still haven't
changed in
figured
over
that.
20 something years, right? I mean,
So is
So-
next gen CRM simpler instead of
it's
more?
much simpler, much more AI driven, much more. I think you heard, I won't mention his name. He stole all my thoughts when he came to visit me in the Alps, but my buddy Ray Wang,
Yeah, he
talked
didn't
about
mention his name.
dynamic software and that's what the next generation of applications will be. It will be about dynamic. Everything today is a static application at the end of the day.
But
I
Bob,
think it's interesting. Go on, Jamie.
No, thanks. No, listen, Bob. I mean, I use it every single day, and have done for so many since I got away from product and went onto the dark side of actually sales and using the product. I use it every single day, and it hasn't changed. I mean, it is a very, very complex and full data store. But the gold is, I have to mine for the gold in it. It is not presenting anything to me. You talk about intelligence and AI models. I'm looking for something more dynamic. I'm looking for something that helps. It doesn't help me. I still have to know the questions to ask, right? So that's one of the drawbacks. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think it's moved on since Siebel to any.
Yeah, and just for, you know, Jamie and I were together at Siebel years ago, and you know, I would still take Siebel 7 over anything in the market today.
UCM,
Right.
right?
So Jamie, are you looking for like a next best action AI type prompt in a CRM?
So I think there is some elements of, I mean, I think a sales process, you think about defining a sales process, and every organization has its sales process. It's different by segment, by industry. Yes, roughly. I do think that the lack of intelligence is in the data still, because they're very proprietary relationships between the data objects, right?
Yeah.
And what ties them together. I had this crazy idea once that, you know, CRM systems, they're kind of like empty buckets, and they're only as good as what goes into the bucket. But why do we manually allow people, whether, you know, it's, you know, marketers or SDRs or anybody, to enter customer data in when the world is awash with data, like LinkedIn data? You know, you've got data in Zoom info. Why do you buy an empty application and have to fill it yourself? It seems really weird. Why do we not just have objects that connect to data sources that are available, that can actually tell us in real time the relationships that exist between people and influencers? You know, and that whole thing, I don't know why that is not at the core of a next gen. Potentially, maybe it is.
Well, I think there's another aspect of this too, that is that it's not even just the connections and the data that's in the system and how that's interconnected, but it's, to me, Jamie, what you're talking about is the fundamental disconnect between what we want as an interface as people using these systems, the ability to understand and answer our questions, or present us, like anticipate what we're going to need, whereas what we get presented with is still very much the guts of how these systems work. We essentially have, in some cases, a somewhat beautified version of how the tool itself is actually designed, rather than an interface that is designed for our needs that uses all of the stuff that is already in the tool. And to me, that's where we're trying to move.
It is about having that data already there, right? I mean, I'll give you an example. I can tell you there's multiple companies in existence who have, as a sales rep, you have to fill out a 10-page opportunity form. Right, Jamie? You know, I mean, you just can't even imagine, right? This is why CRM systems don't get utilized. And by the way, 80% of that data already exists in the enterprise, or it exists in signals from other sources that could be pre-populated. Yeah. But this is why these systems just don't get used.
I think one thing that, if we take a step back, it's about the human-machine interface. Machines are good at doing things at scale, repeatable. Machines are also good at maybe delivering, crunching data and delivering insights. And humans are great at creativity, critical thinking, empathy, listening, and finding that right balance between, you look at, if you have SDRs sending out mass emails, I see every day on LinkedIn somebody complaining about these things that are repeatable that humans shouldn't be doing, but that machine should be helping them do better. So I think that's really the next gen is, what does it look like where machines are supporting, enhancing the value of what humans bring to the table?
Well, if we go back really, really old school, like pre-Siebel, ACT was all about, Goldmine was all about, how do I be more intelligent when I connect with someone, right? Mm-hmm. And that was different for every different individual user, which is why when they networked it together, it was a complete mess, right? But we have to go back to that. How do I get more intelligent about every collaboration, about every interaction that I'm having?
I think that's something I don't know.
Got away from with networked CRM.
I think each of these products we're talking about is probably a product of their time. And I think you make a great point, Rebecca. We're supposed to be sitting in front of this little console, in Goldmine, and I remember it well. and we had some kind of intelligence, and we would engage the customer, and we'd have all that information, but we'd be speaking to them. But it was like, if you go back, it's like the 90s, right? So even CRM was still a command, and organizations, enterprises, was a command and control structure when it came to data. So you had all the data and all the information. People had to come to you. This is kind of even really the internet and the democratization of information. So you were the custodian of the data, and you released as much data as you wanted somebody to hear in a selling process. Remember, we still sent brochures to people and all that, but we had all the information inside. And I think what's happened is that the web and e-com and everything flipped it from, it's kind of like this inside out mentality to outside in, because you heard that great stat many years ago that 70% of the sales process was complete before a prospect engaged with your business, because they could find all the information they wanted online. So you were starting from a different point. So to your point, Bob, the information is all out there. People are going to get to it anyway. And when they reach you, they're at a different stage of that engagement process, which is why people talk about customer engagement. That was over CRM or CX or whatever. So it's all connected.
I just have to go down memory lane for a minute. Does anyone remember Harvey McKay, How to Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive, and his I forget, it was he had like 60 questions. He had an add-on or whatever to his software, one of the CRMs, and he had all of his salespeople, not immediately, because you needed to get to know someone over time, but like you were supposed to answer these 66 questions about each of your customers so that you could have a casual conversation with them along with your business conversation. And on the one hand, I thought it was kind of cool. On the other hand, I thought it was a little not creepy, but just, it wasn't learning something because you were enjoying talking to someone. It was part of you need to know this thing about this person versus just a casual, hey, I know this thing,
The stalker's guide to the customer.
It's how they train BDRs and BDMs, right? They have it that they ask all those questions right on the initial contact, right? It hasn't changed. It's still like that.
But it's even more creepy. That's the thing. That's so weird, right? It's because it's even more out of kilter than what it was before in so many cases, because it is this kind of artificial construct for how you're having this conversation. Occasionally you break through and it works well, but that seems to be the exception rather than the rule.
To go to Larry's points for a second. First point on zero data input. There are actually some vendors who are working their way toward that. One is Microsoft with Viva, which is specifically Viva, not their general product line. And that's actually probably the best of them. And then Oracle with the new Fusion Marketing and Fusion Sales is also working in that direction. What was that?
Beer.
What was that? Beer. I heard somebody say
Where
beer.
is that coming from?
I have no idea. Somebody said it was asking for beer, right? So
it's a party line. This is a party line.
That's right.
Have we been hacked?
You say party line to me, you were talking communist.
Has the air traffic control situation gone to us?
That was going on? I have a totally different idea of party line than you do, right? So, but that's one thing. So there are, there's not let's say this. I don't think there'll ever be a point where zero data entry occurs. Where it's literally you don't have to do anything. I just don't see that ever happening. But let's say as close as you can get to it, down to that level. I am going to give some credit to the thinking in limited way of what Microsoft's done and what Oracle is trying to do. And then on the other point Larry's making about flipping it to, he actually has a whole idea he calls systems of action, right? That Larry has developed. Actually, there's a company that one of the guys who attends the happy hour a lot, Pete Smith, owns, called Spot Logic, that actually is organized around that idea specifically, right? So, you know, what I'm basically trying to take is glass half full here, that with all the shortcomings that vendors typically will have, there are some pretty smart thinking going on at certain levels at some of the vendors, and they're actually building the system specifically to try to accomplish it. You know, we'll see. Time will
Paul, the zero data entry, it will never be solved by software from a vendor, and that's where all that great thinking goes to nothing, because the minute somebody gets that software, guess what happens in the enterprise? They have to tie all that data into it. Now we come up with the compartmentalization problem that happens. That's why you can build all the great software in the world, but enterprises, there's great software, but enterprises still, it's their problem at the end of the day. They want to push it on vendors, but it's actually not the vendors at the end of the day.
I agree.
It's the enterprises.
So how do you change your thinking?
Yeah, it's like they have organized themselves into silos over many, many years, and unpicking that is almost impossible. You know, and saw that definitely on the SAP side.
I mean, I just, yeah, and if you look at, just take a simple telco, for instance, right? A telco, in order to even get all that data, they've got to access like 7,000 different systems to bring that data together, right? That's, if you just think about, you know, like you look at large implementations of full-blown CRM, and what you see is it's not the CRM software at the end of the day. It's all the integrations, right? That is still the killer. And yes, there's products out there that make it a little easier, MuleSoft, others that help. But hardcore integrations with legacy systems, that doesn't come easy. That comes at a huge cost. And by the way, the data, it's so difficult for enterprises to just think differently about their data at the end of the day.
All right, so let me throw this out to everybody based on that. So if our problem is getting enterprises to think and act differently, which is a gigantic issue and has been an issue. Look, there's a lot of people who, almost everybody here has been in at least 20 years, almost everybody, at least 20 years in this, right? So, and the enterprise really hasn't changed dramatically in those 20 years, to the point where you have companies that stand out. You know, I've always loved Dialog Oxiata and companies like that, you know, who I think stand out and have an exceptionally different approach to how an enterprise should work. And that is a telco. But generally, the bulk of them just don't get rid of bad habits very easily. And, you know, and we have all addressed that problem at some point in some way and tried to hit at it. Hasn't changed much. So if we're, other than, look, I'm semi-retired. I don't care. Right. So let it fail. I'm out of it. Right. So, right. So that's not true, but nonetheless, let's just say I'm less in it. So, but if we're talking about a new CRM for 21st century and beyond, is that going to hell in a handbasket because we can't change the thinking of enterprises? I mean, how are we going to do this?
Well,
how are we going to do this? What do we have to do that's finally going to crack through these things besides, you know, getting John Reed to just keep dropping the brohammer?
I think you have to separate the two. You know, the future of CRM is really about making it easier for people to work, right? That's not going to solve the enterprise data problem at the end of the day.
Okay.
Right? The enterprise data problem really has to be solved by companies wanting to think differently, thinking in a process way and not in a, you know, in this fragmented way that they think today. You know, one of the things over the last year that I've really realized, and it just hit me like a freaking lead balloon, which was enterprises define themselves by the systems they buy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know.
This is really a problem because they buy systems And then they put data together based on systems and not based on actual process flows from front to back, back to front. And this is probably I think the biggest issue.
Well, Bob, building
Wow.
on that, I think they, Bob, sorry, Nicole, I think they perpetuate the issue. I think with what they buy and how they deploy it, they perpetuate the issue. So who is going to buy next generation CRM, next generation enterprises? I wouldn't be trying to sell generation CRM to the big companies, the Diageos of the world, with all the various integration problems they have, the big telcos. Every single person is going to be disrupted. Every one of those leviathans that we look at as captains of industry today will be disrupted. Salesforce are going to be massively disrupted because they're now entering that phase where their growth is slowing, and they're going to come up against the problems that they used to slag SAP about having for many, many years, because the people that invest in them want a different return. They want them to be a different company. So someone's going to use up them just the same way that Blockbuster and everybody else over time has been used up. So I wouldn't be selling next generation CRM to any of the big guys because they don't have the capacity, the ability, or the appetite to change.
I think it's fascinating because from where I sit in a content focused space that is also leveraging all of this composable architecture, what I am really clearly seeing is, I think, a view into what you're talking about, Jamie, because one is there is a different way of doing this stuff. There's a different way fundamentally about thinking of some of the models. And I'm not even just talking data models here, although that too, but the relationship between the tools and the ways of working and the flexibility that exists between those things. So there's way more of an interplay, which is very distinct from the way we've classically done stuff in enterprise software. But the other aspect of this is we're actually increasingly serving a different set of teams with a very different way of working. This is not a command and control environment. This is not top down. You know, companies that are trying to manage their enterprise, and this is customer facing, public facing content for the most part, but it is across the enterprise, have to work in a very federated way. It's a very devolved degree of responsibility. It's not totally centralized. It's not totally top down directed. There's a degree of consistency and cooperation that needs to exist, but it needs to facilitate autonomous activity. And so it's about not even necessarily collaboration, but coordinating the work across these different teams. And I realize this is sounding a little bit esoteric here, but to me, there's some real indicators of how this pattern is going to be applied elsewhere. And it is, in a sense, separating where the data and the substance is from how and where it gets used. And that provides a much greater degree of flexibility to ensure that you're using the right things in the right place and that you have the flexibility to adapt how and where you're using what you have. And I think that kind of conceptual model is something that we're going to see applied in a lot more areas like CRM, but it requires this mindset. It requires this kind of organizational philosophy and management style in order to work. Because trying to apply this kind of technology to existing work patterns and org structures doesn't buy you very much.
All right, before we go, we have to say goodbye, but not farewell, to Ginger Conlon. Let her go off. She left us. She's got, big stuff to do now. We got to let her go. We're just glad that she came back for a little while to share the wisdom. But thank you for joining us today, Ginger.
Yes, thank you very much, and let's go Yankees, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My pleasure. Always great to catch up with everyone. See you on the next show.
Bye.
Bye. Whoa, there's literally like a hole between Rebecca and Alan now. All of a sudden, it rejiggered its tiles. All right, so how about an example? Do you guys know? Give an example of that you might know of what you call a next gen enterprise. Name a company and tell us why. I know a couple, I think, but I'm not sure. So many of them are not next gen. Almost none of them are next gen. So who's a next gen enterprise? That's an enterprise, not a small company that hopes to be one, right? Who's a next gen larger company that you would, give them that credit to.
Always with a stumping question, Paul.
That's a tough one.
I'm thinking of folks like Netflix and Spotify are some of the first ones that come to my mind. But these are not business to business companies, so
It's okay. They don't have to be business to business. Doesn't matter.
Significant scale. But I think they've got some really fundamentally different ways of working, because the nature of what they're doing is actually quite different in a lot of ways to the traditional business models that we know and understand.
And the same with some of the new manufacturing companies, right? They're not using an SAP in the back end. They're not using a brand name CRM system in the front, right? They're based pretty much solely on SaaS-based models, and I think those are the kind of companies that I think what you'll start to see more of, who think differently, who can change their processes very quickly, right? Because when an enterprise is defined by its systems, the ability to make those changes when necessary, and I think we've all seen that, right? They can't change fast enough because they can't change the freaking system fast enough to be able to change the process. And I think newer companies are more flexible. They're able to adapt better to the changing environment, right? And I do think I think those are the companies that will succeed. The ones that are flexible, can change, are not tied to a business process just because they've been doing it for the last 30 years.
I think if I'd add to that, I would say that are willing to take risks. There was a company I was working with years ago, not long ago at Freshworks, who they have an innovation team, and the innovation team is there to create things that may or may not work. It's a startup within a startup. It's whatever you want to call it. And the ability to invest, and they know that these things are not a quarterly response. It could be a year or 2 years. That's a long-term thinking that a lot of companies I don't think have the stamina maybe to work with, right?
Yeah, I think a good example is the whole supply chain crisis. There's companies that were so able to adapt, so flexible to change on a moment's notice that it hardly even affected them. But those companies that were tied to these diehard processes around supply chain, they're sinking because they don't know how to react differently at the end of the day. And I do think it's the mental state of the enterprise, right? They have to think differently. They have to look at things in a different way. But, like Jamie said, the silos that are created inside of an enterprise are going to be the downfall of these big companies. And you see it over and over and over again.
It makes me think of
supply chain was certainly the big area. Sorry, Nicole. The supply chain was certainly the big area that we saw, right? And you saw folks like New Balance that were able to completely turn around their model and start producing completely new products. And through the course of that, they've changed the entire way that they design every other product line that they have, right? So that's one that I would say has really done some interesting things. And if you think about a big enterprise that took the impetus of the supply chain and COVID and made dramatic differences in the way they collaborate, in the way they develop product, and the way they use their supply chain, right? But the other thing that we saw a lot of inflexibility in, go back to the CX space, right? Everybody had agents sitting in a call center somewhere that, we're still waiting on hold if we tried to call them 2 years ago. And that's another area where, you see companies, the last bastion in the CX space that did not go cloud and did not go to that kind of flexible work from anywhere, optimized, automated, was the contact center.
Well, guys, listen, seems like Atlanta's in the tornado warning now, so we're going to end it a little early so Brent and Anand can take preparations. But what we can do while you're all here is our famous close. So all of you be ready. There's Brent's hiding behind that.
I was trying to get to what is it, this one?
You might want to come back.
No, not that. Oh, I know this is what I've been keeping an eye on. I'm going to show you the back end.
This is while this Playaz is going on. Look at that.
Goodness.
Does not look good. And
Yeah.
a
Step
tornado
away from
warning
everything
in-
electronic.
Right.
Oh, and okay, that's easy for you to say. Look where I am at.
Yeah.
I know.
Electronic Central over here. Anyway, now we'll believe me, if I start hearing sirens or horns or anything, you'll just see a blank screen. So we're
All right.
good to go here. So.
Well, let's just do our close, man. Let's do
All
it.
right. Well, okay. Now this is going to be. Oh, look at Patrick. Patrick got in the scene there. All right.
Oh, he's so beautiful.
All right. So I don't even know how this is going to work.
We'll just do the usual.
Yeah, for me and you. But then who's going to go
Well,
next?
Okay. Nicole, Alan, Bob, Jamie, Rebecca.
All right.
There
I
you
just
go.
know I'm first. So
Okay.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg. Nicole. Oh,
She's on mute.
You're muted.
Oh, she's muted.
I'm muted.
Unmute.
Party foul. I'm El Nicole France.
Start that again.
Alan.
We need to
I'm
start
Alan
that
Berkson.
Bob Stutz.
This really
I'm
didn't
Jamie.
work.
Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Lyman, and I'm Patrick.
Yeah, this didn't work. We'll have to work on this one another time.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I
wow.
know. I was gonna say.
Anyway,
Our
we are
closer.
so glad to have you guys join us. We got to do this more. We got to have more Playaz-in-Residence homecomings. This is fun.
Yeah, Brent and I have a conversation to have on Playaz-in-Residence generally. So be prepared, guys, because
Margot.
this was
Margot.
fantastic.
Oh, Margot.
Thank
Hi.
you. Oh, Margot.
I got to
And
talk
John-
to her.
All right.
John Field has been furiously kind of trying to, get one over on me, but I'll sort him in London next week.
All right, guys. It was
Thanks,
great.
everybody.
Thank you. And
Bye.
Brent,
By the way, before you guys go, we've been recording locally, so when we close the show out, let the upload finish before you leave the green room. All right?
it's
Okay.
a matter of a second or two.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again. I'm going to hide and go for cover now. So we'll see you.
Thanks,
Stay
all.
safe.